What's up, guys? It's John Dominique, the Soul Proponent. Today I just want to leave some feedback about a video someone made. A gentleman actually left me a comment, and he made a video about one of my videos with commentary about the soul and if God is real or not. And I'm very appreciative that somebody actually left feedback. Not only that, but it was honest, genuine feedback, and it was not an attempt to bash anybody. It wasn't bitter or it wasn't hostile. It came with an attitude of, hey, let's have an intelligent conversation, which I'm all about, which I really appreciate. But I just want to say a few things about what was said in that video. The person often said that, you know, that's not how rational people operate. Well, I want to take a look at the need to be rational. If we look at it deeply, I believe the need to be rational is an attempt to avoid something. And in my experience, my need to be rational, which I had that need as well, believe it or not, for a long time, was fueled by fear. The fear of facing what was infinite and eternal. There was this blackness, this emptiness, this hole, and I judged that emptiness as worthless. It made me feel bad, so I tried to avoid it at all costs. And one of the ways I was avoiding it was by being rational. And the mind couldn't stop thinking. It kept going, it kept rotating. It was a cycle, it was a wheel. I couldn't get out of it. And when I got smart about it, looking back at it now, I could see that that need to be rational was a way of avoiding that emptiness that was on the inside of me. And I was biting of the forbidden fruit of the Garden of Eden, like in the story of the Garden of Eden. Biting that forbidden fruit is the need to judge, and that need to judge is a way to control. And what I was trying to control was moving away from that emptiness, moving away from what made me feel pain, and moving towards what made me feel pleasure. All right, if that need to be rational and the need to avoid pain and feel pleasure becomes more important than the truth, then there's a problem, because we're prioritizing something over than the truth. And what we're prioritizing is the need to be rational, the need for physical evidence to prove that God is real. And also that need for physical evidence to prove that God is real is also a problem. It's caused by lack of self-worth, because we think physical evidence is more important than our own experience. We don't know our own value. We think it's more important to have physical, concrete evidence than it is to actually go into ourselves, to turn to the inside and have our own experience of God, because that's where the truth lies. But the enemy doesn't want us to see that. It does everything in its power to avoid us or to turn us away from going on the inside and finding that treasure that lies deep within. So yeah, I want to look at a couple of things. Like I said, the need for rationality was one of them. And really, if you look at, I'm not going to go there on this video, but the need to have needs, that's a huge step that we need to understand. It's a huge step on the path to the soul. And, you know, the intellect, the mind, the rational person, the individual doesn't want even, you know, want to even propose it as a possibility. But, you know, once we are able to let go of our attachment of this identity of the rational mind, of who we think we are, we're hanging on. I was hanging on to the mind and the need for rationality because it was a part of me. If I let go of it, what would be left? Who am I without this rational mind, right? And if I looked at it closely enough, the answer was, I'm nothing. And that's the part we need to find out for ourselves. Nobody really wants to go there because it's too deep, too dark, too scary. Don't have the capacity to face that in its entirety. There's not any support in the environment for it. And it's a matter of letting go of everything, of the rational mind. It's a matter of letting go of my identity, of who I think I am. And it's very deep, very dark, very scary. In the video, the gentleman was talking about, you know, our feelings are the only things that matter. I'm not trying to say that. But I am saying the feelings do have something to do with it. So, you know, the idea that our feelings don't matter is part of the truth, but it's not the entire truth. Our feelings do matter, and the rational mind matters as well. But if we're tossing out our feelings altogether in favor of the rational mind, then that's a problem, because we're ignoring the truth of ourselves. We're ignoring what's on the inside. We're saying it's not important, just bury it under the rug, and this is the burial of our self-worth. Okay, the story of Jesus, the rejection and the burial is, okay, we're going to reject parts of ourselves, bury it under the rug because we don't like it. We don't like the way it makes us feel. It's a problem. It's no good. It's going to be, you know, it's going to mess up everything. It's going to mess up the rational mind. That right there is an area that we need to explore for ourselves and look into deeper. So our feelings are important. They do help us determine whether God is real or not, because if we don't have any value, if we don't know our self-worth, then we're putting our worth and our value in something else. And if we don't have self-worth, then we don't think it's important to find out for ourselves God is real. Our experience isn't important. Our bodies aren't important. Our lives aren't important. It's more important to hold on to the rational mind, and that holding is part of the attachment. We're very stuck. We can't let go of that, and it's a vicious attachment. Look at that deeply and you'll see that need to grasp, that need to hold becomes very, very intense, and that same intensity is the same intensity with which we're avoiding the soul and avoiding the reality of God. So we need to look at that deeply and understand why we tend to favor the intellectual reasoning over our feelings. There's a feeling of dread, emptiness, and worthlessness, that black hole. Again, that's what we're trying to avoid, but I'm here to propose that that black hole might be the beginning stages of our path to the soul and the path to God, and feeling it in its entirety. I'm not here also trying to prove that my interpretations are correct. I think they're just one way of seeing it. There's many ways of seeing the Gospels and interpreting them. You can take it literally, you could take it semi-literally, or you could take it all like metaphorically or figuratively. I think everyone has to decide for themselves what they think it's about. There's more than one way to see it. So I'm not here trying to prove that my interpretations are correct. I'm offering one way of seeing it so that, you know, maybe I can inspire other people to find out for themselves if what I'm saying has any truth to it. But I do want to say that the ultimate fulfillment to the Gospels is the feeling of self-worth. This is the missing ingredient that has been overlooked and misunderstood for centuries by people. No one talks about it. They don't teach it to you in church because it's not profitable. They'd rather you not know about your self-worth because it's easier and more convenient, and also they can take advantage of you pretty much. So let's look at this idea that, yeah, if you go to church, the church is, I agree, can be a barrier to our understanding and our growth and our potential. If we give our authority figures the power to take away our desire and our curiosity to find out stuff for ourselves, then we're contributing to our own downfall. We're limiting ourselves, and we're saying that it's more important to have approval from the authority figures. Here's unconscious peer pressure, and it's also unconscious pride, because it's so important to be a Catholic or an atheist or whatever denomination or whatever group you belong to, and now we're putting more value on the praise of men than on the praise of God. And that's a huge issue. It's very unconscious. People don't really see this, but I'm here to offer this information so people can learn from it and, you know, have their own spiritual awakening so that they can know for themselves God is real. No one's going to do it for you. So yeah, now the opinion about apologetics being only existing to convince that those who already believe that their way is the only way of seeing it, in a way that's kind of true, but it's not the entire truth, I don't think. I think apologetics also exists to try to convince people that God is real, and it can work in that way too. But it can also be true that, yeah, a lot of times the motivation is for people to keep themselves convinced that God is real and to perpetuate that idea and not see the other side of things, that God might not be real. But, you know, I came from the camp that God wasn't real until I found out for myself, and I'm here to just encourage other people to maybe find out for themselves too. So you know, the evidence for God is found inside our own experience, and the need for physical, concrete evidence is a barrier because, again, we don't value our own experience. We don't think our lives are important. We think it's more important to have physical evidence, and physical evidence is not the most important thing. It's not the most valuable thing. Our lives, our bodies, our souls are way of infinite and eternal and unconditional value. That's the truth of who and what we are, the true self, the true identity. But if we're attached to the false identity of who we think we are, this personality and its beliefs and its need to rationalize, then we're stuck saying, hey man, without any hardcore concrete evidence, God is not real, which is just not true. But again, you have to find out for yourself. Yeah, religion, I talked about this already a little bit. You know, the religion can't prevent us from thinking outside of the own precepts about the religious precepts and the dogmas and the theological